All right. Welcome back to the Scruggs Show, where we talk about culture, we talk about our lives, and just everything that's going on. I'm your host, attorney Natasha Scruggs. I'm here at Let It Fly Media, our friends who have gracefully curated this for us. So today we're going to talk about a few topics. The number one topic is police brutality and the cases that are going on that everybody is talking about. And I have two great guests today. The first is attorney Christopher Scruggs, who is in Chicago, who's going to talk to me. And then we have Wilson Blacks, who is actually in DC. So, Christopher, welcome on.
Hello.
Well, his name is Scruggs. My name is Scruggs. That's my big brother. He's 19 months older than me, and he is a newly barred Illinois attorney. So, Chris, how have you been feeling over the last, I would say, week, or it's actually over a week now, since last Monday when the George Floyd incident happened?
I've been feeling really out of sorts, like not knowing how to feel, a lot of confusion because a lot of killings, a lot of police killings of black men or black women have happened so often that when you see something pop up on your timeline, like I don't know if it's an old case that the tape finally released. So I guess after the first couple of days, once you see the George Floyd footage, now I understand, okay, this is a brand new case. This just happened. But also at the same time, I feel really numb to it all because we've been following this type of violence for a long time, and it just seems like nothing's ever going to happen with it.
Yeah, so I guess I know you didn't watch it, but when you saw, I know that you weren't able to avoid like clips or images or like pictures. What did you think? Did you assume like this is going to be the one that took it to the next level, or like what was your thoughts after like the initial shock or the initial numbness?
Well, what I did see, like you're saying, from the little small clips or pictures, is that it's hard to believe, it's hard to understand why somebody would put their knee on their neck,
Mm-hmm.
on someone's neck. So that just seems like really gruesome and really just hard to stomach and hard to deal with. But even at the same time, even with that brutality, I still didn't think that this would catch the type of fire that it did. I'm really happy it did, but like I said, murders and stuff on camera happen so often that
Right.
it's hard to really know, what is going to really set people off.
Right. Well, you being an attorney and me being an attorney, and we understand kind of the context. What is your opinion on number one, the initial charge against Derek Chauvin, who is the person who killed and murdered George Floyd on camera? What is your initial response to that charge? And did you think that initial charge of third degree murder plus plus it was a manslaughter charge, and it was only for one of the officers? What were your thoughts on that?
The initial charge was kind of meant to protect the police officers and meant to kind of give them a slap on the wrist because a third degree murder, when you read the actual statutes out there in Minnesota, it's such a low bar when it comes to what this man did. This man literally put all his body weight on the knee on someone's neck. He held them down. The man's telling him that he can't breathe, and other people are telling him that he can't breathe, but he still continues to choke this man out until he dies. And then even after he dies, even after he stops breathing, he still keeps his knee on his neck for 2 more minutes. So basically, with that type of intention, with him actually knowing that the man is dying and he still didn't do it, that's more of a first degree charge. That's
Right.
more of an argument for the highest murder there is as far as premeditated, because he's making decisions in the moment not to allow this man to keep breathing, allow him to keep living.
I agree with that. And my initial reaction when I saw it, and I made it available to people on my link tree because I wanted people to read it, because sometimes I think that society can they will post a headline and then they'll post a summary, and the summary can be, someone's opinion, so I like to just go straight to the source and just look at exactly what was written. My initial reactions were, it was two things that stood out in the charge with me. And what stood out is, number one, she said his height, and she said George Floyd, who is the victim in this case, his height and weight. I didn't understand, why did she have to put that he was over 6 feet tall and over 200 pounds? When you're writing a charge for someone who is, as you're saying, committed murder, the victim's height and weight is not relevant in the charge, in the complaint. And then the second thing she did was, she said that the medical examiner did not complete his examination. However, from what she saw, George Floyd had, she said pulmonary something, she said hypertensive, and she also said something else. And she said it could have contributed to his death. That I've been looking at criminal cases for over the last 6 years, but longer than that. But I'll just say the last 6 years, and I've never seen a prosecutor outline two possible defenses to murder, or two possible other causes of death in the complaint. And that made me, number one, not trust them, and number two, it made me look at them funny. Well, what do you think about that?
No, but what I think the reason why that's happening is because the prosecutor is also behaving like a defense attorney for the officers at that point.
Well, why would she do that?
The reason why is because I guess that they're used to always just fully prosecuting citizens to the full extent of the law. But when it comes to police officers, people, as far as prosecutors, feel like they are on the same team and they have to protect each other, or they have to make sure that they're not getting too much punishment. So that's why the prosecutor would add in the height and weight, which when it comes to murder, when it comes to any murder statute in the 50 states, it has nothing to do with how much the person weighs.
I love that. I just like that. I like that statement, Chris, because I wouldn't even thought about that. It has nothing to do with it. It's literally you're causing the death of another.
It deals with intent. It deals with malice aforethought. It's a lot of stuff that goes into it. But we talk about weight. We talk about a person's health.
Mm-hmm.
None of that stuff is factored in when you actually are trying to meet the requirements for a murder charge.
So if that's the case, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but if that's the case, why would people run with it? Why would people run with the idea? Is it because the prosecutor said it, or is it because the medical examiner said it? Because the medical examiner works very closely with the police too. So I'm just trying to figure out, why would this narrative of George Floyd, they're basically trying to say he contributed, or his health contributed to his death, when he was a man walking around normal 5-10 minutes before that.
The reason why people run with it is people want to hear evidence that backs up what they believe about authority and how they support authority. So people, I guess folks don't want to know that there's evil stuff happening in this world by anybody. It doesn't matter if it's a civilian, if it's a elected official, like a prosecutor, or like an actual police officer. People just want to believe that they're not out here, committing heinous acts. So in order to keep that idea going, they'll grasp at the first thing that says, okay, the officers wasn't at fault. This man's health was the problem. It's not what the officers are actually doing. So and also people are, I guess the right word is enamored by people in power. So if someone in power says something, it must be right.
Right. That's what
And,
I think.
yeah, and
That's what
people
I
don't
think
like
the
to
issue
use
is.
people don't like to use common sense and actually think for themselves. They just want to kind of take information from someone else,
That's the biggest
even
one.
when even even when on the camera you can see all of it is false.
Chris, I never thought about that. I never thought about when someone has a title, and that makes it worse. And that's why, if we want to get into why I believe it's first degree murder, which I do believe that it's first degree murder, and this is just for Derek, and I do want to include the other three. We can talk about them briefly, but Derek, the reason why regular third degree, now, since then, the Attorney General of Minnesota was appointed to take the case over. And when he took the case over, he took about 4 days, and then he decided that, I'm going to charge the other three officers with accessory, actually, I'm sorry, aiding and abetting third degree murder. So he charged them with aiding and abetting with third degree murder, and then he quote unquote upped the charge for Derek Chauvin to second degree. And I didn't think that second degree is enough, just like I said, because in Minnesota, second degree murder requires intent to kill. So if he feels like he has enough for Derek Chauvin to be guilty of intent to kill George Floyd, then the only additional piece that we need for first degree murder is premeditation. And just like you said, he took some time to think in between, because we have a 10-minute video. The 10-minute video shows the full 8 minutes and 46 seconds that Derek Chauvin was on George Floyd's neck in daytime. And in that 8 minutes and 46 seconds, there was a 6-minute break where in 6 minutes, one of the other officers said, "Let me check his pulse. He doesn't have a pulse." And then he said, "He doesn't have a pulse. Should we turn him on his side?" And Derek Chauvin said no. So if someone says a person that you're physically on doesn't have a pulse, and you say no, and you keep your knee on them, that's premeditated murder to me.
That's the evidence that kind of shows that this person doesn't have respect for his life, and that he's trying to stop him from having a pulse. Because the officer comes and tells you he doesn't have a pulse. Well, the next logical step is, let's maybe give him CPR.
Right.
Let's call the ambulance. Let's do something to resuscitate him, because it's not like he's been dead for a long time.
Right. And sorry, but yeah, I was just gonna say yes. If they would have, if you wanted to do that, which is heinous, then at that point, that's when you say, okay, let's call the EMS. Let's get his pulse back started. Let's take care of this person. If your intent was not for him to die, if your intent was just to, and that's what I'm saying. If his intent was not for him to die, and if he didn't premeditate killing him, then what was his intent? Because you can't say his intent was to restrain him. He had been restrained for 6 minutes and 40 seconds. So what else is the intent? What else are you planning on doing? There's nothing else to occur. So that's why I don't agree with it. And additionally, him having authority and him being an agent of the state, that should make it worse. That should enhance it. Somebody who has the authority to come up to a man who was accused of, he literally was accused, and we have no proof. None of the people have came out and said this is true, of having a counterfeit $20 bill. Now, if I have a $20 bill from somebody and I don't know if it's counterfeit or not, basically he's innocent until proven guilty. So in my eyes, George Floyd was innocent of what they accused him of, which is a $20 counterfeit bill. We don't have the bill. No one from the store has said for sure that it's a counterfeit bill. They called the police. Then not Derek Chauvin, but the other officers came, snatched him out of the car, abused him, put him into the car, pulled him out of the car, and then that's when Derek put him on the ground and put his knee on him. The other two officers grabbed his leg and put weight on his leg and his body, and the fourth officer watched, and they did this for 8 minutes and 46 seconds, and further, even after that, just watched him die. So how if you want to know what I think the charges should have been, it should have been first degree murder, Derek Chauvin, and second degree murder for the other three. And the only reason why I would give them second degree is, honestly, I could make an argument, but the reason why I would give them second degree is because I can't really see their premeditation as much as I see Derek Chauvin. But the fact that they're holding him down, the fact that they told Derek, hey, he can't breathe, or we're scared, something could happen, but they have a duty as a peace officer, as an agent of the state, as someone who has the duty to save people's lives. They have a duty to stop Derek. They should have gotten, if you didn't want to be charged with this murder, you have to stop him. You have a duty to stop him from murdering him. So, final thoughts on this, Chris, and I'm going to let you go.
Yeah, the final thoughts is I think more people have to be aware and cause more pressure on these people, like the prosecutor, like the medical examiner. I think it was a governor who actually said, even before the man was even charged, that he didn't know if he had the evidence to charge him with anything. So
that's sick.
Yeah, it's really disturbing and sick, and it's just more people have to become aware and put pressure on these people. And I think the only reason why stuff like a Brianna Taylor and also George Floyd it's causing so much uproar is because more people are becoming aware, and we just got to put more pressure on the people who are in charge.
Okay. Well, thank you, Attorney Christopher Scruggs, for showing up. Have a good rest of your day.
Thank you. You too.
Hello. Welcome to the Scruggs Show. I want to go ahead and thank you, Wilson, for coming on. And I got a few questions to ask you.
Okay. I may have some answers.
All right. As a black man in America, how have you been feeling since May 25th, when the George Floyd situation, when George Floyd was murdered and when everything blew up? How has this taken a toll on you?
So, I woke up that day and I watched the whole video.
Oh.
Like, a lot of people haven't watched the video, but I watched the whole video.
Mm.
And so, like, when you talk about the conditions of being a black man in America, a lot of people, a lot of times, up until they see it, look at you like you're crazy or you're exaggerating. They dismiss it. They're like, it's not that bad. So, that day I watched the whole video. And so, I've just been feeling mostly numb in a lot of ways.
Mm.
Because as that man was begging for his mother, I saw myself and I asked myself, in my last breath, is it my mother that I'll be reaching out for? You know?
Mm-hmm.
And since then, I've just seen a lot of people pay lip service and the backs and the forts and the this and the that and the this and the that. And it's like, the question that I really have is, who's still going to be down in 2 months? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Once the media, the camera, all that leaves, when they actually do arraign them, when the likely outcome might happen, right? Because in Freddie Gray's case, it was a slam dunk case. In
Right.
Jordan Dunn's case in Florida, it was a slam dunk case. And even though his killer did go to prison, the road that it took is indicative of the fact that, of a very simple truth in America.
Mm-hmm.
Killing a nigga is really not that big of a deal. I'm sorry for cursing. Like, killing a black man is really not that big of a deal in America. Like, you can't get away with it type thing. Like,
yeah.
And so that's what I'm sort of worried about. Like, I'm appreciative of all that's happening right now. But my question is, like, how do we make sure there's never a George Floyd? Because that police officer stood on his neck for 2 minutes and 52 seconds while he was unconscious. If you ever have time and you have a stopwatch on your phone, on your wristwatch, wherever, just time a minute of silence. Don't do nothing. Don't say nothing. Just look at the clock for a minute and just ask yourself, how do you lay on top of an unconscious human being for 2 minutes, because if you watch the video, you could see him. You could see him going through the convulsion. You could see him go through the motions. You could see him going through the motion of his body leaving his life leaving his body. And so I was just chilling.
Well,
and that
I didn't mean to interrupt you. I was gonna say that is deep, because now they have these commercials where they will literally play breathing for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. It is a very long time. It is extremely long to put your knee on somebody for that long, and for that person to be expected to breathe. I just spoke with my brother, who is a licensed attorney in Illinois. He actually just got his license during the quarantine time, and he told me that basically expecting somebody to breathe during that time, because now with the charges and with the medical examiner, they're trying to say that his weight, and they're trying to say that he had medical issues, and that has nothing to do with you putting your knee on somebody and literally stopping them from breathing.
Listen, the medical examiner report came out and said that he was unconscious for 2 minutes and 52 seconds of those, right? So however we want to call the rest, who keeps their knee on the neck of an unconscious man for 3 minutes?
A monster, if you ask me.
Right? Like, and so that's the thing. Like, people want to, like, okay, cool, we could discuss all the other factors. Once the police officer felt the body go limp, why did he keep his knee on the neck? What was the reasoning? Go ahead.
That's a good question. I think that's the question that the prosecutor had to ask himself. That's the question that the jurors are going to have to ask, because they have to prove intent. I don't think intent should be hard to prove. I think that intent should be a no-brainer, and I think the premeditation should be a no-brainer, which would make it first degree.
I concur.
What do you think about
the fact that?
Go ahead.
But the fact that it might still be in question, fact that somebody could watch that, exactly, right? The fact that somebody else could watch that video, watch that man beg for his mama, and then their reaction to it is, let's go dig up in his past because he wasn't perfect. Next thing you know, we live in strange times.
Right. They put I pay attention to what everybody puts out, and specifically the people that are in the criminal justice system who have power. I pay attention to what they put out, and I pay attention to what the media puts out. I thought my heart broke so bad when I saw him crying for his mom, because his mom had recently passed away, I believe. And he's basically, and he told them, I can't breathe. He's begging for his life. He's begging them, and they literally didn't care
at all, right? And so it goes back to the basic premise that Black people have in America: the question of humanity, right? Because at the core, that's the issue.
Ain't
for a
that
long
sick?
time, Black people, I mean, really, for a long time, Black people weren't considered full human beings, right?
Right. 3/4,
The agreement that they passed, exactly. And like the thing is, like, what's so fascinating when people have these conversations with you, it's like they talk to you. The Black people of those days almost didn't consider themselves as humans. It's like, you didn't talk to them. You don't know what they thought. You didn't know what they feel. You didn't care enough to ask them. So now, boom. Now we're in 2020, right? And post-Obama, post-racial, post-this, post-that. But too many of us forget that in the eyes of many, we're still not human. And that's got to be the premise of all conversations, right? It's like, no, bro. Like, forget all. I am a human being, and you will respect me as such.
Yeah, people said that if it was a dog, I apologize.
No.
People said if it was a dog, that wouldn't have happened.
The officers would have gotten shot in the streets if it was a dog. What are we talking about? If it was a dog, the officers would have gotten shot in the street. One of them concerned dog owners, because Minnesota is one of them states where people do have them Second Amendment rights. One of them concerned dog owners would have stopped his car, jumped out, and let off.
To see a human being get treated like that is is just unconscionable. And we shouldn't have to watch that. And that shouldn't have happened.
Right.
It's 2020.
Because that's what is kind of like running through my mind. Is like, yo, I watched the murder.
Exactly.
Right?
And now I have that trauma
of watching a whole murder for counterfeit $20 bills, apparently.
And
right?
I just talked to my brother about that. He's innocent of that until proven guilty, and they haven't showed us anything that he had that he had a $20 bill, or that he even knowingly had a counterfeit $20 bill. You don't approach people like that based on a stupid $20 bill.
That's what I'm like. In which America is possessing counterfeit money worth the death penalty? That's white collar crime, homie. Like, that's like, what's the justification? The police officer, the Vietnamese, no, well, he's not Vietnamese, he's Hmong, that stood in between the crowd and the other one that had the police. As you saw that, like, there was 3 other police officers on George Floyd's body.
Exactly.
Right? Like, nobody thought to themselves, hey, bro, this is a human being? This is somebody's father?
No.
This is somebody's son? Okay, cool.
So,
on a crowded street on 5 p.m. in the afternoon.
Yeah, it was a lot of people outside. I when I saw the other angles, because there's so many angles and there's so many things.
Right.
Even the people that were in the car before. I mean, it's little to me. It's an open and shut, first degree murder, white supremacists pushing police officers case. I think that all of them should be. The other 3 need to be charged with second degree, but I think Derek Chauvin should be charged with first degree. No question. Let's talk a little bit about Brianna Taylor. So Brianna, today is her birthday. She would have been 27 years old.
I'm so sad that I had to find out about both her and her birthday in such tragic circumstances. Happy birthday to the young lady.
It's so sad. She's a beautiful black girl who was sleeping in her home when three police officers busted in, claiming that they were told that this was the right address. Later found out that it wasn't, but who knows? Why would they even come in there? The person that they said they were looking for had already been detained.
He was in police custody.
He was in police custody. It was a man. How do you go from the people making a mistake, busting in somebody's house, shooting her 8 times, getting shot at, and then you charge her boyfriend with attempted murder of a police officer, and you all are on paid leave? Can you break that down for me? Because as a black woman, I am hurt. I am sad. That makes me scared. I live on the first floor. You know, it just makes me think so many different things, so many different thoughts. I have a sister. I have a mother. I have best friends. What do you think? I mean, what is going on?
The one other very specific factor in the Brianna Taylor case that people are forgetting is it was a no-knock warrant.
Which is illegal.
It's not like it's not like they hit him with Louisville police, we are coming in. Right? It's like you're sleeping in your house at 3 a.m. and you hear your door coming off the hinges and nobody is saying nothing.
That's
They're
insane.
moving like common criminal. Your boyfriend, because you live in a state where Second Amendment rights are a thing, gets to letting off on them.
Yeah.
They shoot back. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, they came in their house, like, because when you read the whole file, so her house got on the map because they saw 2 people make multiple drives from apparently downtown to her spot, right? So it's like, okay, cool. Your assumption is there's a drug operation going on in there. In order to not alert the drug dealers, we're going to perform a no-knock raid. Your warrant hasn't been updated since January. You don't have any fresh intel. You don't even know who's going to be in the house. You decide to go do a no-knock warrant. You kill somebody, and then, again, the beautiful thing is, if it wasn't for the pressure of people, they would have buried this. This shouldn't even be an issue. And so that's the thing. It's like no justification, no apologies to the family, no nothing.
That's sick.
No nothing. Like, and then there's been no arrest. Like you said, they only paid administrative leave. There's been no arrest. There's been no culpability, no admission of liability. There's been no sort of like internal call for like, hey man, maybe we shouldn't do no knock ones on drug cases, right? Because like, all right, cool. Let's even say, boom. How much drug are we talking about? What was Brianna's life? What was her life worth? Was it an ounce? Was it 2 grams? Was it 1 gram?
And that's why we say it should be legalized, because that's not fair to do that, even if those were people that are in there. You don't knock that whole concept. But that's why we get into abolition, because we can't even fix policies, because number one, they don't follow their own policies. They don't do what the law says. The law says don't do this. They do what they want to do when it comes to black people.
Right.
All of the laws, even Derek Chauvin.
None of the officers had their cameras turned on.
Of course they didn't.
Right? It wasn't just 1, 2 officers. None of the officers had their cameras turned on. Like, come on, bro. Like, let's be serious. Let's be serious. Like, when they try to reform the Louisville Police Department, one of the arguments was the narcotics unit doesn't require cameras on their why not? It's like
it's always an excuse. I don't believe it.
Right. Exactly. It's because you know the type of behaviors that happen. You know the things your officers are doing. You know your officers are circumventing the law. Because, see, that's the part, especially in the case of Brianna. It's like, there was nothing, right? Because this is not even George Floyd, where you could say, oh, she had crystal meth in her system. There was nothing. She's the perfect victim. Where's the outrage? Right?
I'll say we end on that, because I wanna marinate on the outrage, because it took months for the outrage to come, and now the FBI claim they want to look into it. Come on now, they always do that. But we're gonna have to end on that and come back, because this is probably gonna have to be a series, because it's so much to flesh out, and I wanna dive into the minds of those 3 officers who are currently getting paid, who have not been arrested, have not been charged, have not been held accountable, have been coddled and taken care of. And I also want to get into the Ahmaud Arbery situation. So I thank you for coming on, Wilson. And next week we're gonna go deeper.
Thank you so much for the space. Blessings, and keep fighting the good fight. Peace.
Thank you. Bye-bye. So that's it.